So I'm going to recap this. In a nutshell, this tube, actually two of them, these two that go all the way to the ABS and such up in front of the car. Long story short, these tube nuts rust to the tubes, and if you try to replace those hoses and try to undo these nuts, if they are rusted together with the nut with the tube, you cannot really remove it. Did I say that before? Yeah, like two options basically. One, you can just buy this whole tube or two of them and replace from the ABS to this bracket. That's how long the tubes are. Or the other option is to cut it like I did right here. I'm going to put this tube nut on, use my flare tool, well, that's part of it, flare this end and install this, I guess, hardline coupler is what we shall call it. So this device basically just connects two tubes, two rigid tubes. So this goes on like this nut goes into this coupler like so, and then you have to take another piece of tube, like whatever you have, flare it on both ends with the nuts attached to this coupler, then shape it. Here's my mock-up, just basically from here, well, that's what this mock-up is, simulation. So this is one tube that I already have finished. My extension now is going to be probably this shape. It's going to go like so, around here, and then around, loop down to this bracket. And at that point, so basically this long of an extension, you just make it out of straight tube using the same flare tool and a couple of tube nuts, and you're done. I figured that's the easiest way to do this. I already talked about buying those tubes, I guess. So that's how you fix this intermediate hose replacement situation and rusted tube nuts and everything like that. One thing that I should mention is that it's not an option to really, well, it probably is if you use a different tool. So I guess it could be an option if you manage to cut this tube right behind this tube nut and manage to reflare this piece of tube before it bends 90 degrees, because if you cut it just after the nut, I don't know how you can really install a new nut and a flare tool, and I just couldn't figure that out. Maybe there's a tool that could do that job. Mine just doesn't fit. In a nutshell, I cannot just fit this with a nut. I need about 2 inches of a straight pipe really to use this tool and flare the end of the tube and install the new nut. And it's also not really an option to unbend this and then bend it back. I mean, you could try. So it's just, it wasn't doing for me. So I figured this is the best way of fixing this. A bonus material. So I figured this. Since my subframe is not going to float anymore and it's going to be rigid, I really don't need any I don't really need any intermediate hose here to connect the hard line to the subframe. So what I'm thinking is this. Although I was going to upgrade to braided stainless steel hoses, I don't really have to do that anymore, because I can just run a piece of a tube from here, from this coupler, around like so, to this bracket, through the bracket, and then just, I don't know, those hoses are about 6 inches, so I can just make a single tube and just connect it to the subframe, to those couplers, joints, and yeah, and completely eliminate the need for those hoses. So instead of, I don't even have enough fingers on my hand, instead of 6 hoses that this car has, I'm going to get rid of these 2. So I will have only 4 hoses, 4 brake line brake hoses. Yeah, and I think that's the best option. Less flexible hoses, a better pedal feel, I guess, a better brake pedal feel. We shall see, I guess, but I guess that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to try doing. Let's get to this and flare this and start, I guess, measuring and bending these tubes. Here's my intermediate brake hoses replacement. So that's the result of that upgrade, I guess.